Good evening, I'm John Brown, and this is your top story tonight on WBC News. Across the United States today, demonstrators filled streets from coast to coast in a unified stand against what they say are grave threats to democracy under President Donald Trump's administration. From the heart of Manhattan to the steps of the Colorado State Capitol, and even to the sands of San Francisco's coast, Americans gathered in large and small communities alike, voicing growing concerns over civil liberties, constitutional rights, and what some are calling a turn toward authoritarianism. One notable gathering took place just outside of Boston at the historic site of the battles of Lexington and Concord, marking 250 years since the shot that launched the American Revolution. Among the crowd was 80-year-old Thomas Basford, a retired Mason from Maine, who brought his family to witness the reenactment and take part in what he called a modern-day struggle for freedom. "We're living in perilous times," Basford said, adding that he wants his grandsons to understand the price of liberty. In Denver, hundreds rallied under banners of solidarity with immigrant communities, some waving American flags upside down, a symbol of distress. Similar scenes unfolded in cities like Portland, San Francisco, and Anchorage, where citizens carried handmade signs highlighting their reasons for demonstrating, some so numerous they claimed no single sign could contain them all. Meanwhile, in San Francisco, protesters arranged themselves to spell "impeach remove" along the beach, reinforcing calls for accountability at the highest levels of government. In other parts of the country, protests targeted high-profile figures like billionaire Elon Musk, a Trump advisor, criticizing his influence and efforts to shrink the federal workforce. Some events took a different approach, focusing on grassroots community efforts like food drives and teach-ins. Organizers across the board say they're standing against what they call civil rights violations and unconstitutional actions by the Trump administration, particularly immigration crackdowns, mass firings of federal workers, and proposed cuts to key social programs. In Anchorage, a protester dressed in colonial-era attire held a sign reading "No Kings," channeling the spirit of 1776. Others decried what they see as the emergence of a police state, with signs labeling the Trump administration as a fascist regime. Back in Washington, D.C., 76-year-old Bob Fasick stood near the White House, worried about what he sees as a dismantling of due process, Social Security protections, and programs aiding the nation's most vulnerable. "I can't sit still," Fasick said. "We have to act for the future of our children." In South Carolina, a crowd gathered outside the State House, holding signs with messages like "Fight Fiercely," while in New York City, protesters marched past Trump Tower chanting "No fear, no hate, no ICE in our state." The day's events were fueled further by concerns over President Trump invoking the Alien Enemies Act of 1798 in relation to Venezuelan gangs, despite U.S. intelligence reports suggesting no clear coordination with foreign governments. "We're not at war," said Marshall Green of New Jersey. "Everyone has the right to due process." And finally, some voiced worries over what they see as growing executive power. Melinda Charles of Connecticut cited ongoing clashes between the White House, federal courts, and elite universities. "We have three branches of government for a reason," she said, "and we're watching the balance unravel." From rallies to reenactments, today's protests were a loud reminder that many Americans believe the nation's founding values are still worth fighting for. That's the latest from WBC News. I'm John Brown. Stay with us for more on this developing story, coming up after the break.